You know, every once in a while when I make videos back to back to back about a left-wing city, left-wing legislature, and I think I'm being too cruel to these people, they're trying their best, I should give them a break, and they're genuinely not that evil, but they may be that dumb, I then stumble across yet another story, yet another bit of stupidity that makes me realize that I don't dislike these people enough. I don't think little of them enough, because each and every day I am wowed, I am surprised by the kind of things, and this one, by the way, passed unanimously, that these people put forward as solutions to criminality, as solutions to open-air drug markets, that of course are never addressing the criminality, nor addressing the open-air drug markets. Now, we've done stories about San Francisco in particular, trying to force a business to stay open, or businesses to stay open, that are closing due to crime. Well, guess what? They've decided in this specific scenario, they're going to force businesses to close, also due to crime, because this is, according to them, the only way that they can address this situation. And unsurprisingly, a bunch of left-wing people that border on or are actually socialists support policies that allow them to pick and choose what stays open, what closes, because everything is an opportunity for them to gain more and more power. Now, we're going to get into this, but before we do, thank you to everyone who signed up over on actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
But let's for a moment switch gears. San Francisco says it is seeing progress in its fight of the opioid crisis. The Board of Supervisors tonight unanimously approved legislation to ban some Tenderloin retailers from selling prepackaged food or tobacco products overnight.
So I want you to just think about what they said right there. In the city of San Francisco, where they give out needles to opioid addicts, and they end up being strewn about the streets because this needle exchange never involves the second part of it, which is the exchange back of needles. They're saying, you know what? We're actually quite successful in battling the opioid epidemic, but we have this new way to make it work, a new way to go after these open-air drug markets, and of course, it's not arresting the people that are littering the streets, that are creating all these problems, and using the criminal justice system as a stick in order to force these people into rehabilitation so that they can get off the streets and get off drugs. Instead, they're going to go after tobacco and prepackaged food sales, because you know what the real issue is. These legal drugs, not the decriminalization of all this stuff in the city of San Francisco that has led to it being on the streets. It's tobacco's fault and prepackaged food's fault.
Those restrictions will be in an area of O'Farrell and McAllister Streets from Polk to Jones Street. Our Jose Martinez spoke with business owners in that area and residents living there as well, and many of them saying when it comes to rampant crime in that neighborhood, the stores simply are not to blame.
So this area is in the Tenderloin of San Francisco. We've actually talked about it multiple different times on this channel. In fact, I'm pretty sure I did a story about the city of San Francisco trying to force businesses in this very same area to stay open. Now they want them to close or to significantly diminish their businesses. And I just want to point out that if somebody comes in and they're all hopped up on drugs and they decide that they want prepackaged foods, and you have a city like San Francisco that never does any enforcement against these people, and then they're denied due to this ordinance, and then there's a physical conflict, again, due to this ordinance, who is going to bear the brunt of that? Who is going to face the consequences of that? Not the city of San Francisco, but the business owner who has to deal with an angry addict that is now getting something put between him and what he wants. So this is what is being put forward as a solution. More conflict for the stores, more issues for them, and again, we still have the issue of the San Francisco Police Department being completely inept, not because the officers are inherently bad or anything like that, but because they've had powers taken away from them, and the enforcement mechanism is now being thrusted on the businesses. And it looks like at least some of the people being interviewed in this local news segment know that it's not the businesses to blame, even though left-wing people who don't have to deal with this will constantly blame those very same businesses.
It's been 5 years since Abdul Alamari and his family opened Rainbow Market and Deli in the Tenderloin, but he says they're about to start facing significant changes.
I would love to gotten help instead of having taken this route where this is going to negatively affect our business.
So I just want to point out right here that you have somebody, possibly an immigrant, operating one of these little corner stores in the Tenderloin in the face of this criminality. And one of the things that I would address with this specific business if I were, the city of San Francisco, one of the wealthiest cities in this country, one of the wealthiest cities in the entire world, is the fact that in order to operate his business, which is just a standard deli, he has to have those metal bars all over his windows. He can't even have a normal, nice glass setting because of the criminality, because of the craziness, but rather than actually help him, rather than actually support him, guess what? The city of San Francisco unanimously decided you don't get to determine your own business hours. You need to close between 12 and 5 a.m. because all these criminals are running wild over here, and sometimes they victimize you, sometimes they steal from you, and we're not going to do a damn thing about that, but sometimes they buy something for you, and we think that may be in some way, shape, or form connected to the illicit drug market. I mean, we don't actually criminalize the drug usage, the possession, using it in public, tearing up the place, all the consequences of that drug usage, but we decided that we're going to lay this at your feet. You're going to deal with it, and guess what? Even though it's June, the month of the rainbow, even if you're called Rainbow Market, you will not be spared these consequences. This is legitimately what's happening, and it's crazy that they interview this guy, and he says the most normal thing humanly possible, which is, I thought that the city of San Francisco was supposed to help the businesses, but instead, they're actually going to hurt me, because that's where they're coming from. They decided it's his fault. This guy do the crime, according to the city of San Francisco, the crime that, again, they never want to address.
He's talking about new legislation under which businesses like Rainbow will have to shut their doors from midnight to 5 a.m. or from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. if they are regulated by the California Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control.
I feel like it's unfair for us to be punished for a few bad actors here and there. Something we've been wanting to get help on for some time now.
So I also want to point out the ridiculous nature of this particular proposal, because remember, this is supposed to address the illicit drug market, the open-air drug usage that occurs all over the city of San Francisco. And what they said is if you're a store that sells prepackaged food, if you're a store that sells tobacco, if you're one of these classes of stores in this particular area, guess what? You need to close from 12 to 5 a.m. However, if you are a store that's regulated by the California State Liquor Board, meaning that you're selling hard liquor, a liquor store, you get to be open a couple of hours later. Now, just a quick question for those of you out there in the audience. Even though tobacco is a very dangerous drug, and I do not recommend usage of it, which is more likely to alter the consciousness of the homeless person, of the person who's already unstable, of the person creating problems in the Tenderloin, alcohol or tobacco? But because alcohol has a bigger, more impressive lobby, it is more in vogue than is tobacco, they don't face the same restrictions, they don't face the same regulations, and you actually can be open longer, even though your business is more likely to lead to problems, not saying it's the business fault, but consuming products from said business, than the other one. It's absurd in every way, and again, it's just another left-wing nonsensical point where they probably thought, prepackaged food, very unhealthy for you. Tobacco, very unhealthy for you. We don't like that. We'll regulate the hell out of that, where you can smoke and all that. But we're going to say it's for drug usage, the illicit drugs, that we have no rules on, that we will give you needles, not even expect you to exchange them, not even expect you to use those illicit drugs at an injection site so those needles don't end up everywhere, and then we're going to crack down on the people selling the tobacco, because how dare they?
The legislation was approved this Tuesday by the Board of Supervisors. According to the mayor's office, the measure creates a 2-year pilot program targeting retail food and tobacco establishments in a high-crime area of the Tenderloin.
So the mayor says, oh, well, it's just a pilot program that we're going to be running for 2 years, so no big deal, nothing for you guys to worry about. I mean, we're going to experiment at the governmental level without any compensation on your business being controlled by the government, what hours it can open, and we're just going to do it for 2 years, and after that it should go back to normal if we don't see any improvement. Good luck staying in business those whole 2 years now that we've kneecapped you from these crucial hours that you were once in operation. And by the way, people who are legitimately working late, doing construction and all of that, typically go to these stores in order to get meals and whatnot for legitimate purposes, but it's okay because it's just a pilot program, and that makes it sound like it's innovative. It makes it sound like they're building a rocket ship or something like that. They're doing something experimental when in reality, they're just restricting businesses. And considering San Francisco has not recovered from the crazy restrictions that they implemented during the pandemic, it seems rather absurd to attempt this again. But again, the goal is to not actually solve the problems, or maybe it is, and they're just stupid, and they just want more control over the economy regardless because they think they know better than you, and they think they can make better decisions than you. Now, obviously, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, one of the solutions would be, you know how you can't smoke in front of a building in a lot of these major metropolitan areas within 25 feet? You could actually enforce that. You know how you can't drink in public? You could actually enforce something like that as well against the drug users, against the drug addicts, against the zombies that are forming all over your city, creating all these problems. You know how theft used to be illegal before we decided that they were all innocent angel Aladdins? Well, it turns out, and this may be shocking to all of you, we still have laws against theft. We still can arrest people for theft. We can still charge them. We can still pursue the case against them. We can still convict them. And theoretically, we can still put those people in jail. Although in California, you can't put them in prison because they have all these different crimes that are exempt from prison. So they go to the jail, and then the jail is too full because it's being overloaded with people. So then they get released. But at least you could go through the process to deter them for a little while. You could give them a little bit of time for those crimes. And guess what? The crime will go down when you stop re-releasing the criminals who commit the crime over and over and over again onto the streets each and every day. But, but why would we bother doing that when we could blame the business?
Defined as between O'Farrell and McAllister and from Polk to Jones. The measure does not apply to restaurants, bars, or event halls.
So of course it doesn't apply to restaurants, bars, and whatnot. And again, it's not like people come out of bars late at night or anything like that, and that ends up creating problems. And I wouldn't be surprised, by the way, if the bar association, as compared to the retail association, decided that they were going to lobby for this particular proposal. So that way, if people wanted to grab a drink, they couldn't stop by one of these stores in order to do so, and they might theoretically be more likely to go into the bar. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, Sean, what does that even have to do with criminality? And that's exactly my point. That is the exact answer to your question. Nothing. It has nothing to do with the topic at hand. It is just yet another power grab, and they're going to drag out an absolute idiot to come out and say, you know what? Even though this is stupid, even though I'm kind of dumb for even suggesting this, let alone getting this passed unanimously, I'm hopeful that it will work, this plan that has no chance of working.
Rene Colorado from the Tenderloin Merchants Association tells me he is aware of the potential negative impact on local businesses, but remains hopeful about the city's intentions.
So I want to monitor and work with the supervisor's office to make sure the businesses that are not bad actors are protected and that they're not unfairly targeted by this legislation.
Oh, I'm sorry, this guy is actually from the Retailers Association. So a guy from the Retailers Association, as they passed unanimously a law that unfairly targets these businesses, says, you know what, we just want to monitor the businesses to make sure that the ones that aren't bad actors aren't the ones getting punished. Well, guess what, you absolute buffoon? The criminals are the bad actors. The people committing the crimes, they're the ones doing the bad thing. You're from the Merchant Association and you're going to endorse this? You're going to rubber stamp this? You're going to say, you know, this blanket law that applies to the businesses in this particular area that has to do with the crime that occurs in this particular area that is committed by criminals who, guess what? Oftentimes, 99%, damn near 100%, don't own these businesses. We want to make sure that they're not unfairly being punished by this policy that, by its very nature, unfairly punishes these businesses. It's absolute insanity. This is what is being presented to us by the city of San Francisco, and this guy sounds like he should be a lobbyist for these businesses, but apparently not so much or not very good at his job. So he decided to say, oh, well, you know, I'm very hopeful about this. We're right on board for this.
Violations of this ordinance will result in administrative citations with fines of up to $1,000 per hour of violation. Repeat violators could face lawsuits from the city attorney seeking court orders for compliance and payment of fines. The city says the goal of this initiative is to improve the community's health and well-being, not to punish small businesses.
So right there, they lay it on the consequences. They say you could be fined $1,000 every hour that you're open beyond the time that you're allowed to be opened. And I kind of love the fact that the local news agency right here, and I'm going to explain this for the podcast listeners, decided to cut to B-roll of all these different homeless people that are loitering, that are basically setting up an encampment in this particular area, because it really goes to show you that that's the problem right there. These people that are camping around, these are the people that are stealing, these are the people that are committing crimes, these are the people that are using drugs on the sidewalk in the city of San Francisco, in the Tenderloin, and for some reason, the city decided to look at this image, look at these people, look at the problems associated from these people, and say, you know what I realized, you know what I determined, those buildings that they're standing in front of, some of them are businesses, and I believe in my heart of hearts that the businesses are actually causing the criminality. The businesses are at fault for the people not affiliated with the businesses camping in front of them, and by the way, driving away customers. So we already have an issue where different various stores are closing across San Francisco. The Tenderloin been hit exceptionally hard in this regard. Theft is out of control, and the city of San Francisco decided, you know what? It's the remaining businesses, the people who still think that they can function in this city, that we need to target, we need to crack down against, because God forbid you have a functioning economy in one of these liberal hellholes, also known as a utopia.
For residents like Zach, who was homeless for at least 5 years and now rents an apartment in the Tenderloin, the measure seems extreme. He tells me the city should come up with bigger plans to address the real issues here.
I think we need to focus more on the people, and instead of the unanimated around. Like closing the store is just going to cause them to have less money, and that's not cool. That's taking away from their food on their table, you know?
So I was actually going to end the video where I was before, but I want you guys to understand that this guy was a homeless man for 5 years, maybe potentially, and I could be projecting this onto him based on his appearance and the way that he was speaking, a former drug addict or a drug addict that's in recovery. And he just explained that this is not a good policy in a very succinct way, meaning that this guy off the streets recently is smarter than every single member of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. Every single person elected by the people is dumber than this guy right here. This guy right here just explained that we have to address the issues with the people and, maybe not go after the businesses, because all you're going to do is cost them money for no reason. This guy. Now look, other than the fact that I think that Mayor London Breeze should be replaced by green hat homeless guy right here, or formerly homeless guy right here, that's all I really have for you guys. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below, and whether or not you truly believe in your heart of hearts that this is the best way forward in terms of policy, that this is something that you should definitely support, you should definitely be on board for, because honestly, the issue is the businesses selling tobacco and prepackaged food. That's what's causing all the criminality, not the criminals. Again, I'm always surprised, always shocked, even though I shouldn't be, by how dumb cities like San Francisco can actually be, and this is a perfect representation of that. But again, to let me know what you guys think, comments below. If you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on all my social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about San Francisco now forcing businesses to close. Till next time.